In this session, we will look at some previous year questions from simple interest, compound interest areas. Okay. See, nowadays there are not much questions from this area. The relevance is actually coming down, but still at any time you can expect a question from this, right? If not in terms of simple interest, compound interest, at least in terms of percentage growth and all, you will get questions always. Okay. And which is very much required when it comes to data interpretation also. So we have discussed this chapter in detail and I had spent around 2 sessions, and I've also discussed about calculation techniques to find these numbers like 1.1 all raised to 8, 1.2 raised to 8. If you get something like this, 1.15 raised to 8, etc. Right? There is no point in discussing about this area. It means I'm actually talking about 10% increase. Okay, and for 8 years, that's what 1.1 raised to 8. Okay, so or 1.2 raised to 4, that means 20% increase for 4 years. All these calculations we know how to do, right? So if it was like 10% increase for 8 year compounded annually, then how will you solve? It is like 1.1 raised to 8. You will write it as 11 square, 11 square, 11 square, 11 square. Into, right? Because 1.1 means I'm taking it as 11. Okay, I am avoiding or neglecting that point now because I can approximate it from the options also. Okay, we have discussed in detail about this. So how will you proceed now? You know that it is 121, 121, 121, 121. Now compared to 120, 1 is very small. So I can take it as 120, I'll approximate it as 120. Now 120 means I can write it as 12. Okay, so I will write this as 12 and 2 together 12 square, this 2 together 12 square. Then I know 12 square is 144, this is also 144. Now since we have neglected this 1 here, we can add 1 here because this 2 is actually 144 square. I can take it as 145 square. Why? Because I know how to find the square of a number which is ending in 5. Last 2 will be 25, previous will be 14 into 15, that will be 210. So once you get this, in your answer choice, what you are looking for is 2.1. Okay, you won't take 2, 10, 25. You won't take this also. You won't take this. You won't even take 21 also, because you know this will hardly double, right? So 2.1 is what you need to multiply. So it's like the question is 10,000 rupees. Okay, compounded at a rate of 10%. After 8 years, how much you will get? 2.1 into 10,000, that is 21,000. So this is how you will solve. Or sometimes you will get questions like, see, you might have seen in mixtures and alligation, there is a vessel having 100 liter of milk, 10 liters taken away, 10 liter water is added. Again 10 liter taken away, 10 liter water is added. It's also similar to compounded. Okay, so but you need to subtract here. If it is 10 liter means you need to write it as 0.9. Earlier it was 1.1 because 10% extra. Here 10% less. Every time it is 10% less. Okay. So in this case 0.9. The question can be what is the content of milk after 3 operation or 4 operation. If it is 3, we know this is 729. So you know this is 72.9 liters. If it is 4, you have to do 9 square and 9 square. Okay, rather than doing 9 raised to 4, 9 square and 9 square. So we know this is 81, this is 81, so approximately 64. Like this we need to solve. If it was 15%, okay, if the milk, 15 liter milk taken away, 15 liter water is added, then 0.85. Now you just need to know how many times. If it is 4 times, you will write it as 85 square, 85 square. So what is the milk left out? 0.85 raised to 4. How will you calculate 85 square, 85 square? 85 square means we know 25, 8 into 9, 72. 7, 2, 25. I'll write it as 7 square because compared to 7,000, 200 is very small. So I'll write it as 7,000, and 7,000 if you ignore 0, it is 7 square. So what you'll get is 49. So 49%, or if it was 100 liter, 49 liter milk will be available. I hope you understood this. Okay. Similarly, if it is 1.15, you will do in the same way. Square or 4 times or 8 times, you will split like that and you will solve. I hope this is understood. Okay. Now let's, we have discussed this in detail, so I'm not spending too much of time in that. So if you haven't seen that video, please see that video. You'll get a much more understanding about this calculation technique. And this is very useful when it comes to this kind of questions. So let's start with the questions. Okay, take a minute and solve this 95 question. Okay, so how will you solve? Ram purchased a flat at 1 lakh, okay, and Prem purchased a plot of land worth 1.1 lakh. The respective annual rate at which the prices of the flat and the plot increases is 10% and 5%. After 2 years, they exchange their belongings and one paid the other the difference. Okay, see, one person bought a flat, another person bought a land, and we know the rate of increase. Okay, and after 2 years they are exchanging, so how much extra one person need to pay? That's what we need to know. So what is the worth of the flat after 2 years? That is 1 lakh. Okay, obviously what is the increase? That is 10%, so it is nothing but 1.1 square, because 2 years. Okay, 1.1 square means 1.21, so this is 1.21 lakh. 1,21,000. Okay, what about the second case? He bought it for 1.1 lakh and increases 5%, that means 0.5 for 2 years. Here in fact 1 is there, but we don't want to use that. Okay, so final amount is actually P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to N, right? So P is 1 in the first case, 1 plus R is 10, so 10 by 100 means 0.1, so 1.1, N is 2, that's why we got the first one. Same as what we are doing here also, 1.1 into 1.05 square. Okay, so 100 plus 0.05. Okay, not 0.1, 0.05, because 5 by 100 is 0.05. And 1.05 square, how will you find the square faster? This is 110 25. How you get it? How you get this 110? You add this extra. See, 105 square, what you need to do is extra 5 you need to add, you get 110. Take the square, 25. Okay, so 110 25. Now 1.1 and 110 25, that means how will you multiply? This is 110 25, so just put one more 110 25. Okay, so you get 5 7 2 1 2 1. Now definitely you know this is just greater than 1 lakh, so you can put like this, 1,21,275. So here 1,21,000, here 1,21,275. So how much extra? 275 extra. So this only one option, Ram paid rest 275 to Prem. Answer for this question is A. Okay, very simple question. I hope you understood this. Okay, take a minute and solve this question. Okay, how will you solve? A man invests 3,000 at the rate of 5, and how much more he should invest at the rate of 8 so that he'll get a total 6%. See, this scenario you can best visualize by using allegation. Okay, so one at a rate of 5 and other at a rate of 8, and you need to get 6. So from here we know you will get the ratio, right? You will get the ratio of the amount. So this is 2 and this is 1, so 2 is to 1. So he is investing at 5% 2 rupee. He have to invest at 8% 1 rupee. Then effectively you will get 6%. Okay, so since here it is 3,000, 2 corresponds to 3,000, 1 corresponds to what? That is half of it, that is 1,500. So 1,500 is your answer. So this is the best approach, or the alternative method will be just by using the same thing that we have learned. Okay, the concept that you are going to apply directly. So you need to see how much he is getting here and how much he is getting here, and equate it with the net, that is 8%. Okay, so let's suppose he is investing X rupees, okay, at 8%. Okay, at 8% he is investing 8 rupee. Then we know in the first case how much he is getting, 3,000 into 105 by 100, right? Because he is getting 5%. Then in the second case he is investing X rupee at 8%. Okay, that means I'll write it as 108 divided by 100, and effectively how much he want to get? 6, right? So for how much amount? 3,000 plus X. So amount will change to 3,000 plus X, and interest is 6%, so 106 by 100. So these two should give you this. Now when you equate this, you can get 0.02, X is equal to 30 and X is equal to 1,500. So this is how you can solve this. But the best method is this allegation. You know this 3, so you can get the ratio. Once you know the ratio, if you know this is going to be a cakewalk for you. So answer for this question is C. Here you need some calculation. Okay, take a minute and solve this question. 91. So what they're saying, a sum of money compounded annually becomes 625 in 2 years and 675 in 3 years. The rate of interest is what you need to find out. So compound interest is what given, right? Or compounded annually, sum becomes 625 and 675. See, 2 year this is 625, 3 year it is 675. So that difference of 1 year compound interest you can actually calculate as simple interest, right? Because 1 year is what we are looking for. So what is the difference? That is 50, right? And this 50 is what you are getting on 625. That's what you need to understand. So this 1 year there is an increase of 50, that is actually on 625. So 625 is the principal amount. Okay, so from 625 you are getting 50 and it becomes 675. So for 1 year means it's just a simple interest. So what percent of 625 is 50 is what you need to calculate. Okay, so what is your answer? 50 divided by 625 into 100. Okay, you'll get it as 8%. Okay, take a minute and solve this question. So this is actually data sufficiency question. We have discussed already the concepts which are related to data sufficiency. So what I'll do is I'll take up 3 questions which are related to data sufficiency. Okay. So if you see, we need to first understand the options. So if the question cannot be answered even with the help of the both statement, okay. So here normally this answer option will come in D. So that's why you need to read it very carefully, okay. So you cannot answer the question even with the help of 2 statements together. That's what D. Okay. So that's what generally D, but here it is A. B, if the question can be answered by any one of the 2 statement. Okay. So statement 1 will help you. Statement 2 also will help you. Now, if each statement alone is sufficient to answer the question but not the other one, that means if statement 1 is helping you but not 2, or 2 is helping you but not 1. What is the difference between B and C? B says statement 1 alone will help you. Now if you take statement 2 alone also will help you. But what C says statement 1 will help you, but in that case statement 2 will not help you. Or statement 2 will help you, in that case 1 will not help you. Okay. Now what about the last one? Both statements together. 1 alone will not help you, 2 alone will not help you. Combined you'll get the answer. Okay, so if you look at the possibilities, these are statement 1 and 2. Okay, so the first option is saying that statement 1 alone will not help you, 2 alone will not help you. If you combine statement 1 and 2, still not help you, then you need to mark A. Now if you look at B, what B says, you can use any of the statement. That means statement 1 will help you, statement 2 will help you, then you will mark B. What C says, statement 1 will help you, okay, but not 2. Or statement 2 will not help you but 1 will help you, then you need to mark C. So what is the last one? 1 will not help you, 2 will not help you, but together it will help you, so you'll mark D. Okay, now let's look at the question. What is the question? What is the total worth of the asset? Okay, so now look at the statement. Total worth is what you need to see. A compound interest at 10% on his assets followed by a tax of 4% on the interest fetches him 1500 this year. Okay, so if you read it carefully and if you have the clear conceptual clarity, there is no need to try anything, no need to do anything with this. The compound interest at 10% on his assets, okay, and then there is a tax of 4% and he is getting 1500 this year. Okay, so total worth of asset is what they are asking. So with this you cannot find the total worth. Okay, so statement 1 alone will not help you. Let's look at statement 2 alone. Now let's keep 1 aside. Now let's look at 2. The interest is compounded once every 4 months. Okay, so total asset is what they are asking. They are saying interest is compounded every 4 months. Definitely this alone will not help you. But if you combine this, you will come to know that compound interest of 10% and it is compounded every 4 months, that means quarterly, and you are getting 1500. So the thing is, you can find what was earlier and you can find the total worth of his assets. So both combined you can get the answer. So answer for this question is D for Delhi. The good thing is that you don't want to calculate this. Okay, so even I am not interested or I am not entertaining you to calculate this. If I do that, you will also do it. We have discussed similar kind of questions, so there is no need to. This is just a calculation question. Otherwise, if the question is asked, it's a calculation. So you can do it. Okay. So here you need to tell whether you can do it or not. Combined, you can get it. Okay. Take a minute and solve this question. Okay, how will you solve? See, here also the options are almost same except the order, right? If the question can be answered by one of the statement alone but not the other, that means one will help you, not two, or one will not help you but two will help you. In this scenario, you will mark this. If the question can be answered by using either of the statement alone, so that means one will help you and two also will help you to answer. So this was earlier B, now also this was C earlier, now it is B. This was B earlier, now it is A. That's the only change. Okay. Now if the question can be answered by using both statement together but not by individually, right? So this was option D earlier, but now C. That's the only change. So one will not help you, two will not help you, one and two together will help you. So what is D? Earlier it was A, now it is D, right? What was that? One will not help you, two will not help you, one and two also will not help you. Okay, so I hope you understood the option. Now let's look at the question. Is a country's GDP higher than the other country's GDP? So now let's look at statement 1 alone. Okay, so GDP of the countries X and Y have grown over the past 5 years at a compounded annual growth rate of 5% and 6% respectively. So what they're saying is X, the GDP has grown 5% and other countries 6%. So they are telling you it has grown 5% and 6% respectively, but you are not getting any other figure, right? So you can't tell whether X GDP is greater than D. So 1 alone definitely will not help you. Now let's look at statement 2 alone. 5 years ago, GDP of country X was higher than GDP of country Y. Okay, so here the question is country X GDP is higher than country Y's GDP or not? That is the question. But what we know is 5 years ago, GDP of country X was higher than country Y. Okay. So what we know is 5 years ago GDP of country X was higher than GDP of country Y. So but they are asking about present thing, right? So we know 5 years ago that was the situation, but we don't know anything about the present situation, right? So with this statement also you can't answer the question. What we know is 5 years ago, okay, X was higher, but the question is about this year, so we have no other idea, right? I hope you understood this. Now what we need to do, we need to combine this. Okay, so when you combine, you can use this also, 5% and 6%. So Y is growing at 6%, X is growing at 5%, and for 5 years. Okay, so 5 years ago X was higher. So 5 years ago X was higher, but we don't know how much higher X. Maybe 1 rupee higher, still I can tell X is greater, right? It can be 2 rupee, it can be 3 rupee. So if that, we don't know how much higher. If that is slight, okay, if it is very small in numbers, then this is growing 6%. So Y will overtake. Okay, so if that was a small difference, then presently Y would be greater. But if that is a great difference, then even if Y growing at 6%, Y cannot overtake. So then X will be higher. So the point is, even if you combine these two, you can't answer this question. You can't say that whether X is greater than Y or Y is greater than X at present. Why? Because we know X is greater than Y definitely 5 years ago. And if both are growing at 5%, we can say X is greater. But here growing at 5 and 6. So if X was greater, that we know, if it was very high, but then if Y is growing at 6 and X is growing at 5, still Y may be less if X was very high. But if that difference is very small, when Y is growing at 6%, Y might have overtaken X. That possibility is there. So you don't want to know, you don't want to calculate also. This is what you need to think. This is the possibility. Basically you can't tell, okay, whether X or Y is greater at present. So answer for this question is, even if you combine these two statements, you can answer this question. D for Delhi. Okay, take a minute and solve this question. 94. See here with these three questions, what we are doing is we are looking at three different possibilities of answer choices. Now here the answer choice is different. If you see if the question can be answered with the help of statement 1 alone. Okay, so you check for 1, it satisfies, you don't want to see anything else, you can mark A. What about next option? If the question can be answered with the help of statement 2 alone, that means you check for 1 is not true, but 2 will help you. Okay, then this is your answer. What is C? 1 and 2 together, but not individually. D, both of them together also will not help you. Okay, now let's look at the question. So, person lost her sheep. Okay, she couldn't remember how many were there. She knew she would have 400 more next year. Okay, next year 400 more would be there than the number of sheep she had last year. How many sheep were there? Okay, so if you see here, the first statement, the number of sheep last year was 20% more than the year before, and this simple rate of increase continues to be same for the next 10 years. Okay, so number of sheep last year was 20% more than the year before, and this will continue for next 10 years. See, it looks like you may get the answer from here, but the problem is they are saying that 20% more than the year before, but they are not saying whether this growth is annual or 6 months or anything. See, if it is annual, means 100 become 120. Okay, that means 20% annual. If it is, then 100 become 120. Now, instead of annual 20, instead of 20%, if it was 9.5%, and I'm calculating 6 months, okay, then 9.5% means you can write it as 1.095, right? And then again 1.095, because 6 months means 2 times, right? 1.095 will again give you 1.2. That means 100 become 120 if you calculate in 6 months, okay, with the rate of 9.5. So the problem here is they are not saying whether it is annual or not. If it is 6 months, that's a big problem. You cannot tell the answer. Okay, so statement 1 will not help you. Now, if you look at statement 2 alone, what they're saying is the increase is compounded annually. So only with this information also you can't answer. But when you combine this, you understood that it is compounded annually and it is at 20%, then definitely you can answer. You don't want to calculate. So answer for this question is C. I hope you understood the problem with this. They're saying 20% increase, but you don't know whether it is quarterly or yearly or half months or half year. Okay, so 20% half year means then it will be much more, right? 1.2 into 1.2, so that become 1.414, 1.44. So then you'll get a different value. If it is 1 year, 1.2. If it is quarterly, then it's like 1.2 into 1.2 into 4 times. So that is 1.2 square, 1.2 square. So that is what you need to take care of here. Okay, so that's the problem with the statement 1. But along with statement 2, you can answer the question. So answer for this question is C for Calcutta. Now, if you want to find the answer, see, there is no point in finding the answer. Otherwise, if you get this question, how will you get the answer? You can assume that number of sheep last year was X. Okay, so last year number of sheep was X. Then you can write X plus 400 is equal to X into 1.2 square, because 2 year and compounded annually. Whatever was there and compounded annually, that is what this number, right? Now from this you can get X is equal to 909. So this is what X, okay, number of sheep last year. Now you can solve this only if the question is to get this number, but here you don't want to get that. They're asking you whether you can find it or not. You can definitely find it. Okay, so mark C as the answer. Never try to find this answer. But in case if you need to find the answer in a different question, this is how you need to find it. You can just equate this. Now why statement this alone is not helping you? Because you don't know what value I'll put here. They are not saying annually. If it is annually, then it is 2 and this is 1.2. But what if it is half months? Then you have to make it as 4, and this interest also you have to reduce 20 to 10. Okay, 20 will become 10, so it will become 1.1. What if it is quarterly? Then this will go to 8 and this will become 1.05. Okay, earlier I made a mistake by saying that 1.2 into 1.2. No, 1.1 into 1.1. So that is actually 1.21. You should get 1.21, but here in this case 1.2. If it is compounded yearly, 1.2. If it is in 6 months, it is 1.21. I made a mistake by saying 1.44. Okay, so I hope you understood. That's how you'll solve this question. Slightly tricky with this. Only thing is that, see, you may think that you will get the answer easily. By seeing this 20% and this 400, you can get the answer. But only problem is you don't know whether this 20% is yearly or quarterly or 6 months. Hope it is clear now.